Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
Brought to you by GlanviaConnect.com.
Hello and welcome to Farmview. Well, as usual, it's Kieran O'Connor here with your weekly farming programme, and once again I have a very busy show for you this week. Well, on this week's programme I'll discuss the appointment of our new Minister for Agriculture, Charlie McConalogue, our third Minister in 10 weeks. I'll also visit the farm of well-known sheep breeder Michael Ketch in Stradbally, and I'll preview next week's big event. Is the Ag Science Association, the ASA Annual Conference, being streamed live this year. And plus, as always, we'll have our farming calendar.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanviaConnect.com, Ireland's biggest online farming shop and more.
Well, TD Charlie McConalogue has been named as the new Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine. Would you believe he's the third Minister for Agriculture in the new Fine Gael and Green Party coalition government in just over 10 weeks? And joining us to discuss and indeed to find out more about our new Minister, we're joined from the Irish Farmers Journal by their news correspondent, Pat O'Toole. Pat, welcome back to our programme.
It feels like deja vu, Kieran.
You said it. Third Minister in 10 weeks. You might tell our listeners a little bit about Charlie McConalogue. People may have heard of him, but you might give a bit of background about his background within agriculture and indeed within the whole political sphere.
Sure. In many ways, his whole life has been leading up to this job. His short life, he's only 42, from Carndon in Donegal. He studied politics, economics and history in UCD and joined Fianna Fáil as an organiser here in Leinster, actually, on leaving college. On the occasion of his father's untimely death, Charlie returned home to take over the family farm in Carndona in Donegal and remained immersed in politics, ran for the county council in 2009 and was elected, and 2 years later ran for the Dáil and was elected at the tender age of 33, and he has been a TD there for 9 years. Was the agriculture spokesman for 2016 to 2020 for Fianna Fáil, raised his profile, will be seen as a rising star in the party. Very affable, a very tall man, very engaging and well-liked, and a popular appointment. Obviously, it's a very, very difficult time for anybody, but particularly now, during the last two appointments, there was a bit of a breathing space. A lot of people, politicians, it was closed down period, but literally there's COVID, there's Brexit and climate change. Three huge areas where he has to get briefed on and literally hit the ground running. Absolutely. We're now less than 4 months from Brexit, and it overshadows everything. It really does. The loss of the Commissioner means that those sectors in Ireland which are going to be most disadvantaged by Brexit, even with a deal, even with the best possible deal, going to be disadvantaged. We need to make our voice heard at the Ministerial Council so other governments understand the importance of Europe being steadfast in the Brexit negotiations in the face of Britain's seeming unwillingness to do a deal. It seems like the British are determined to crash out with no deal, which will be a disaster for Ireland, a disaster for the UK in my opinion as well, but we have to be concerned with the Irish position. So that's important. CAP negotiations are accelerating. The informal meeting for August was held on Monday and Tuesday. The September meeting will be Charlie's first, and their understanding is that in October the German presidency will be trying to push towards a framework for the next CAP. Charlie McConalogue really has to hit the ground running in that regard. We're also looking at a budget in a few weeks' time. The budget will be next month, maybe a little over 5 weeks
away. People have forgotten
and
about that one, yeah.
It's something that he's going to have to work with his department on. Of course, the department will have been working steadily away amidst all the political chaos of the last few months. But you need a focal point, you need a leader, you need engagement with the farming organisations and the other stakeholders. The beef task force needs to be reinvigorated because the fundamental structural problems in the beef sector have not gone away. I think you made a good point there. A lot of the officials and indeed the civil servants within the department, they'd have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. So when the like of our new minister hits Brussels, a lot of his, let's say, team behind him would be very au fait with the goings on. And I believe the new minister himself would have a good overview. But it's a case of actually meeting the people on the ground out in Brussels being so important. That's true. And I mean, the department officials led sort of a whistle-stop tour of Ireland where there were regional meetings around the CAP at the start of the process. That process was headed up by Brendan Gleeson, who is the Secretary-General of the department. And we're well served by Brendan and his team. He's a dub, but he's very committed, very knowledgeable, well got, straight talking. But the reality is that farmers need buy-in into the CAP, and the farm organisations need to have their policies trashed out in public. Because of COVID, that hasn't happened. I'd be concerned if a CAP deal is imposed on farmers, sort of, sprung on them in the next couple of months without a lead-in and without a public debate and without an understanding of what it will imply for them. So I think Charlie has to be the leader in that debate and that conversation.
The whole farm to fork strategy that's out there, indeed, some people have been critical. Some people say it's a must do. Getting the environment, the common agricultural policy, and the climate change. And in fairness to most of the farming organisations and farmers themselves, they all realise what needs to be done. They want it to work. So I think it's a case of everybody working together on this one, because definitely nobody more than the farmers want the whole climate thing to work big time.
Absolutely. And it's about harmonising all these various. We've the farm to fork strategy, we've the Green Deal, we've the promise of the new reps here in Ireland, we have the climate targets of the Irish government, which span all sectors, including agriculture. And, that's a lot to do. But the reality is that the CAP, while trying to achieve social objectives and environmental objectives, also fundamentally it's about the production of high quality food in a safe and transparent way. That's an awful lot to do with one scheme. So the CAP is becoming ever more fragmented, ever more complex, and with farm incomes being as low as they are, with farm gate prices stagnant, it has a lot to live up.
Well, Pat, as you say, it's a very difficult, we'll say, landscape for a new minister with CAP, with COVID, with Brexit and climate change. But at least we have a man coming in who's very au fait with the whole area of agriculture. Indeed, to him and all involved, we wish him the very best, and hopefully we'll have him in for a good long term, which is badly needed within the agri-food sector.
Absolutely, he will have everyone's best wishes and support. I think both Derek Cleary and Barry Cowan wished him well yesterday. After a couple of false starts, I think it's very important now that this government engage with agriculture and that we take on these challenges together.
Pat O'Toole, news correspondent of the Irish Farmers Journal. As always, Pat, thanks for taking our call, and indeed thanks for that overview, particularly for letting people know a bit more about a new Minister for Agriculture. And of course, it's a very important portfolio. So we wish Charlie McConnell the very best. And Pat O'Toole, thanks for taking our call.
You're very welcome.
Well, for an update to see how the sheep sector has coped literally with COVID in the sheep trade, earlier I travelled down to Millerstown in Stradbally to catch up with Michael Ketch, who I normally visit during springtime, but obviously because of COVID this year that was restricted. First of all, Michael, great to be back down here in Millerstown in Stradbally.
Yeah, welcome back anyway, Kieran. Yeah,
Michael, springtime is always a hectic time. Always when I'm down here, it's lambing time, it's hectic on the farm. How did this year's lambing season go for you?
Yeah, overall it wasn't too bad. The weather was good. We got very good weather, and that really helped. We got the lambs out fast, and that was good in that respect. But I suppose the COVID, we had a lot of students lined up and people coming to help, and they all pulled out at the last minute. So,
and of course you normally take them in from abroad.
Yeah, well, we had one girl coming from Austria, and she was very good. She was recommended. She had done 2 lambings in Scotland, and we were hoping for big things from her, and she rang one evening to say that she wouldn't be coming, and likewise 2 students from France pulled out at the last minute as well, so we were kind of left with a predicament there before lambing.
And how did you manage, obviously with COVID, people are afraid to travel into Ireland, but how did you actually manage as regards labour because it's a hectic time here? Just before we come in here, you had 750 ewes to be looked after.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose it's what they say, the old saying, a nil wind that doesn't blow some good. So as it happened, UCD students couldn't go to their placements in Germany and America or wherever they're going, they all had to stay at home. So there was plenty of interest from several UCD students who came to the farm and helped out,
So really the UCD students filled in where normally the foreign students would have been coping.
That's correct, Kieran, yeah. That's correct. So that worked out okay,
And was it mainly boys, girls, or a mix of male and female?
Mostly for some reason, most of the students who wish to come to sheep farms are females, but that works because we generally, I think, the girls are better at nurturing lambs and looking after weaker lambs.
And was it a good lambing season as regards numbers?
Oh yeah, we were happy enough. Yeah, we had very little, minimum losses really from lambing time.
Had you twins, triplets, or what kind of split there?
About half and half, I'd say we've weaned about 1.5. Which we were happy enough with that for hill sheep,
So hill sheep, of course, normally, and you said to us on our last visit here, of course, they're up in the mountain, then they come down for the lambing point of view. Yes. Are many of the ewes back up already, or are they still down?
Yeah, well, we finished weaning, I suppose, the first week of August last. We weaned, and ewes go back up to the hill then, and the lambs are kept on lowland grazing. And
during COVID, Mike, what difference did it make to here? I know you had the labour difficulty with the foreign nationals, which was taken up by UCD students, but overall, how did COVID affect you other than that?
No, it didn't make any real, apart from maybe getting supplies, or drugs and that, but most of the businesses and vets accommodated to that. Like, you just collected the stuff when you needed it. So.
Right. Now, of course, you're renowned for your Lanark type Scotch Blackface. You're a great supporter of that breed, and you really have fine-tuned the rearing of that breed.
Well, sure, we do our best. Sure, look, going back to when we changed over, going back 25 years ago, we were proven right, I suppose, and that these sheep will live on the mountain conditions. They're a great condition, and they'll have plenty lambs and plenty milk, so from that point of view, as a hill sheep, it's hard to beat them, So the animals that are down here at the moment, obviously every September you hold a big sale. I think it's the third Saturday, which this year falls on Saturday the 19th of September, the Tinny Lara big sheep sale. How are you going to manage that this year, or is it still definitely going ahead on the third Saturday? Well, it's scheduled for the 19th of September, and there will be an online aspect to it this year as well, so it depends over the next few weeks what way the COVID thing pans out. So
you're getting set up for an online sale as well as the actual guys coming down here and viewing as well.
Yes.
What kind of numbers will you have for sale?
About 600 in total, made up of maybe 200 Lanark ewe lambs, 100 mule ewe lambs. There's 100 Lanark hogget ewes. Right. What else did I say there? There's maybe 120 or 30 draft ewes, 5-year-old ewes, and then there's probably 60 or 70 2-3-year-old ewes, and then we have rams and ram lambs as well,
So a lot of stock. As regards to the buyers from this, obviously Waterford wouldn't be a renowned sheep area. Of course, we're very well known in the Comrades Knockmill Downs for the Blackface Mountain, but as regards buyers, where would most of your buyers come from? In the past anyway.
Well, sure, I think we've sold sheep nearly to every county at this stage. Predominantly maybe they go to Cork, Kerry, up the west into Donegal, and then a lot of the breeding sheep go to the Midland counties, sort of Kilkenny up along.
Would you have repeat buyers coming?
Oh yeah, we have customers coming for years and years at this stage.
Now, if people want to find out more, obviously a lot of stuff is going online now, and obviously we can online and Facebook and whatever. Do people get on your website, or where do people find out more about the Tinny Lara sheep sale?
Yeah, well, we do advertising on Facebook, and we put a few posts up on Dundee, and maybe an ad in the Journal, maybe a few weeks before the sale as well,
Michael, sheep farming, really, you're literally bred into it, but really it's part and parcel of your being as such. You really we say embrace the whole sheep industry and the sheep as an enterprise.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But Michael, I think you told me this before. You like to concentrate rather than doing a mix and bit of several enterprises. Concentrating on one and doing it to the best of your ability is your motto.
Well, that's what we concentrate on, And at the moment, I suppose the challenge at the moment is the grasses. The fibre is very low on the grass at the moment with all the rain the last couple of weeks, and maybe lambs are not thriving as well as they should.
Running through the animals.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. We have lambs in at the moment. They're treating.
And Michael, during the springtime, and obviously we had a fantastic spring, April, May. Did that help you at lambing? Was that a big help, the weather at the lambing time and into the early summer?
No, it was a great help. Sure, yeah, it was a great help. Lambs got lambs out fast, and lambs were a bit born outside. There was no issues, once they were sucked, they were away. It was very good, very good spring from that point of view.
Well, Michael, I'm glad to hear the spring went so well, and I'm delighted how the UCD students came to the rescue when your foreign students were unable to travel. So once again, it's Saturday the 19th of September, all going well, the Tinny Lara sheep sale here in Millerstown in Stradbally. Michael Ketch, best of luck to you and all involved, and let's hope the sale on the Saturday the 19th will go well for you.
Thanks very much, Kieran, and thanks again for calling.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com. Thousands of products in the palm of your hand.
And you're welcome back to part 2 of Farmview. Now, before I preview next week's Ag Science Association's annual conference being streamed live this year, let's have a look at some items from our farming calendar. First of all, turning to our farmer markets and country markets, this Saturday and every Saturday morning, we've Waterford Farmers Market in John Roberts Square, as well as the Stradbally Farmers Market, now trading outdoors in Stradbally every Saturday morning. On Sunday, we've Lismore Farmers Market, Castle Avenue, Lismore, from 10 until 4. And also on Sunday, we've Ardmore Farmers Market from 11 till 3, just off the beach car park in Ardmore. On Thursday mornings, it's Dungarvan Farmers Market every Thursday, Grattan Square from 9 till 2. While on Friday mornings, we've Dungarvan Country Markets, Causeway Tennis Club and Abbeyside from 9 until 1:30. And also on Friday mornings, we've Waterford Country Markets, St Olaf's Hall from 9 until 1. Turning to our marts, this Saturday and every Saturday, we've cattle and calf sales at Waterford Ross Mart in New Ross from 10. While on Mondays, of course, we've Dungarvan Mart cattle and calf sales every Monday morning from 11 o'clock. And don't forget, all Mart sales are now on live at livestocklive.com for both ringsides and online bids, and it's been proving very popular with both buyers and sellers indeed. And finally, a date for your dairy. Don't forget, John Prendergast had been on to tell us about the annual tractor run in aid of the Ardmore Grange Parish Fund. Takes place on Sunday week, the 13th of September. We'll have more details on next week's programme.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com, Ireland's biggest online farming shop and more.
Well, one of the highlights every year on the agri scene when it comes to conferences is the Ag Science Association, or the ASA annual conference. Well, obviously this year, because of COVID, it's going to be held online and behind closed doors as such. And joining us on the line is a very busy man indeed in the organising of the conference. He's president this year of the Ag Science Association, the ASA, Seamus O'Mahony. Seamus, welcome to our programme.
Thanks, Kieran, and thanks for having me on your programme and to your listeners. I suppose our Agricultural Science Association conference is taking place next Friday morning at the 11th of September at 10:30. The conference really is to explore the impact of COVID-19, Brexit and climate change on our agri-food industry, and that, for your food consumer, for your primary producer, your farmer, your people working in agribusiness and agri-professionals. So there's something there for everyone.
Now, I'm sure the title says it all, Embracing Disruption in Agri-Food. Obviously, it's a very, very challenging time for everybody, particularly in the agri-farming industry, where you've Brexit on top of all what else is happening, and of course CAP talks as well. As regards the lineup, my God, you've some lineup for next Friday, Seamus.
We have indeed. So in terms of COVID and Brexit and climate change, we have the leaders in each section. Let's say the opening address on the morning will be given by Taoiseach Micheál Martin, who was Minister for Agriculture up until yesterday. And he's going to lay out, policy and commitments to the agri-food sector, what their commitments are in terms of climate change and what they're doing in terms of the trade element relating to climate change. I suppose in addition to that, we actually also have some global speakers. We have Daniela Tavot. She's a regulatory and global trade strategist, so she's very in tune with EU and US trade policies and what's going on between Trump and Biden and Russia. And she'll definitely give insights in terms of how, what's happening in the US or American scene is affecting food throughout the world. So I think that'll be interesting. As part of that global panel as well, we have Liam Condon, and he is president of the Crop Science Division in Bayer, which is probably the biggest chemical and seeds company in the world at this stage. Recently took over Monsanto of Roundup. He was key to that, and a Dublin man. So it's an interesting story. It'll be interesting to see where he sees the future of resilient food system. Following that, we actually have Minister Simon Coveney, and we will have a one-to-one interview with him, facilitated by RT's Damien O'Reilly, and he substantially will deal with Brexit and how it's going, and he has been at the coalface of that for the last number of years, so that will be interesting. And, it'll be interesting also to hear some of his recent initiatives in terms of fostering trade in Asia and some of the appointments and strategies they've put in place in that space. Mm-hmm. I'm sure our people who'd like to log in would like to ask questions relating to EU and US trade, especially with all the news around trade commissioners. I think that should be interesting as well. To complete that then, and in reply to the previous speakers, we have a local panel. And by local, I mean, local
Irish
speakers.
Not international.
Yeah, Irish speakers. Yeah, Irish speakers. So we have Donald Dennehy, who's director of Danone Ireland, and they would be the substantial manufacturers of infant food, infant milk formula in Ireland. And I suppose it's interesting to note that it's 15% of global milk formula for babies is made in Ireland, and why? And their vision towards net zero emissions and their journey towards it, which will be all our journey under the EU Green Deal. So they've already plans in place. And I think he's also going to give us a little bit in terms of how they've been impacted by both COVID and Brexit. So I think that should be interesting. We also have Laura Burke, and she's Director General, top person in the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. And I think she's going to go into detail in terms of what our commitments are in terms of climate change and how every other department feeds into that. So again, you're direct from the top. Finally, to wrap it up then, you have Professor Thea Hennessy from UCC and Padraig Brennan, Meat and Beverages Director for Borbia Ireland, who will, assess the challenges and opportunities in terms of markets and economic impact and opportunity in terms of all of the above.
I think within that 2 hour, and it is a 2 hour online live stream, I think you really put a real top-class panel together and of course the three overhanging areas, COVID, Brexit and of course climate change, which is such a big important one. As regards people and getting people to log on, because the ASA has a great cross-section of people within the industry involved in all the various sectors in the agri-food industry, from advisors on the ground to food production to sales to marketing, you name it. So you really have a big cross-section of members in the ASA. As regards people logging on, they must pre-register. I think that's important to state, Seamus.
It is indeed. So, through our website, www.asaireland.ie, or our social media handles on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, we're posting content which contains the link to the register. Okay. And that register brings you onto an app as such. So I suppose we're asking people to pre-register, number one, and maybe ahead of the event to, test that the technology is working so that they don't get any surprises in the morning. We want people to have a good user experience, so we'd advise people maybe to log on a few minutes early. We will have some content in terms of our events during the year so that, we want people to be comfortable and relaxed and be able to take in the fantastic content on the morning itself. So while the event is it's 10:30 to 12:30, yeah. We'd recommend people log in a couple of minutes early.
Well, Seamus, I think you've done a fantastic job. Obviously, because of COVID, the fear was like the ploughing that it might have to be cancelled. But thankfully, you've organised a live stream. You've organised a top-class panel, both international and Irish. It kicks off at 10:30. We'd like people to start logging on from around 10 o'clock on Friday next, the 11th of September. And for more information, www.asaireland.ie to pre-register. Seamus O'Mahony, President of the ASA. Seamus, listen, well done to you and all involved. A top-class panel, and I'm sure you'll have a big uptake on Friday for your live stream coming to you from the Maryborough House Hotel in Cork. Seamus, thanks for taking our call and best of luck with the big event next Friday.
Thank you very much, Kieran.
Well, before I go on the racing front, we had a good week again for local Waterford connections. Cross-channel, we had wins for young Dungarvan jock Niall Houlihan at Fontwell, and also for Kappa jock Tom Queally at Bath and Fontwell as well. Back home, we had wins for Knockeen Butlerstown trainer Henry de Bromhead at Downroyal and Wexford, while Tallow owner trainer the Evergreen John Morrison saddled a nice winner at Downpatrick. So from myself, Kieran O'Connor, it's goodbye for now. Once again, my thanks to Ollie and Wayne for all their help in putting this week's programme together. So stay safe and hopefully I'll have your company again same time next week.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com. Thousands of products in the palm of your hand.